Yeah, good day everyone. I still remain Mr. Adenlawa, lecturer for GST 104, use of library. The last time we met, we looked at Unit 1, Module 1 of this course, talking about types of library. We looked at the definition of library, look at the history of library, and of course, we look at the various types of library that we have. And if I could remember the last time we met, I looked at the various types of library, talking about the academic library, talking about public library, talking about school library, talking about research library. Also, we have looked at the national library. So all this we looked at in the Unit 1 of this course, Module 1. So far now, we'll be going to the Unit 2, Module 1 of this course. And we're looking at library services. Yes, there are some services offered by the library. The library is not just built for library's sake, but the reason for building library is to offer services. And some of the services offered by the library, we'll be looking at them today, and we'll look at those who are responsible for offering this service. Now, the service offered by the librarian, who is happen to be the head of the library. Librarian happen to be the head of the library, is known as the resource personnel. It's also known as the resource personnel. Now, he offers general library services. I'm looking at the kind of services that he offers. Now, before we look at the services offered by by the library itself, now, who is the librarian himself? Because, like I said, the librarian is the one that offered these services. The librarian is the personnel assistance. Is the personnel assistance to the users of the library. The librarian is the personnel assistance to the users of the library. Those that uses the library, it is the librarian that offer them assistance to information, to search for information, to search for books, to search for reference materials, and also to ensure that the readers get the best in terms of library services. So the librarian is the personal assistance to the users of the library. Now, what he does is that he offers the services based on the demand of the users. And the users sometimes they query the librarian also based on the services offered to them. Because sometimes when the users come in, there are some services that they ask from the librarian, which if the librarian cannot be able to give to them, they query the librarian based on that until the librarian gives them what they want. For example, a user can ask the librarian for a specific location within the library. And they want to sit on a particular location in the library. That is where they want to sit and read. And if the librarian, sometimes the librarian might say, okay, this is the best place for you to sit. This is a conducive place for you to sit and read. Also, they can also ask for a particular quick reference to what they needed. A particular quick reference to what they needed. For example, if they are looking for a particular topic by saying that, what is the population of Nigeria? What is the population of Nigeria? That is the particular questions that they have in mind. And they needed a material to back up what they needed in terms of what is the population of Nigeria. Sometimes they might need 1, 2, 3, 4 materials for them to be able to combine to find solution to that particular question. And so the librarian will assist them in looking for resource materials that will help them to get that information. So the work of a librarian is not just to sit down in the library, is to go around to see that they help the users to get the relevant materials needed to solve problems that is being brought by the users. Not only that, also sometimes there are some questions that may be asked by the users, and if the librarian cannot be able to find solution to it, then that shows that that library itself is not equipped to the standard that is needed. Sometimes they may ask questions related to search questions. They may ask questions related to search questions that, for example, the librarian might decide to say, okay, the only place you can get this question might be through the encyclopedia, which is being built in that particular library, or maybe through a particular software or hardware that is needed. So sometimes the information might not be in the hardware, it might be in the software. And as such, the librarian might say, okay, this is where you get the information from. And if it does not have access to the hardware, you may be able to have access to the what? to the software. So sometimes question can be asked in terms of search question by the users, and the librarian needs to find solution to that particular question. So sometimes the users of that particular library may ask questions from the librarian, and they expect answers to that particular question. So the librarian will assist them to find solution to that particular problem or that particular query being given to the librarian itself. Now, having understood that, what are the various services? What are the various services being offered by the library itself or by the library personnel known as the librarian? What are the various services? Number one is to ensure reference materials is available. To ensure reference materials is available. Now, in the library, there's a lot of reference material available. So when the users come, the librarian need to direct the users or look for search on how to get that particular reference material. For example, a user might need a material on a particular course of study. So it is the duty of the librarian to search for that particular reference materials using their catalog. You can use your catalog to find the reference material to that particular course of study. Now, for example, if a particular topic is given to a user, for example, the role of library in Nigeria, the role of library in Nigeria. Now, it is not easy to get materials on that particular topic, the role of library in Nigeria. So the librarian need to search for various materials, reference materials for them to be able to find solution to that particular question being asked by the users of that library. So you need to get 1, 2, 3, 4 materials, reference materials combined together to be able to find solution to that particular question saying the role of library in Nigeria. Sometimes they might not even need, they may not even have access to that material. So what they do is that they consult other library, other various sources or other library for such material so that they can be able to solve the problem of that particular users. They might ask the users, okay, why don't you hold on a little bit? Let us consult other library and see if they have that material. They can be able to link you up to them and get that particular material so that you can be able to have a good time in that particular question you needed, or that particular reference material needed. So the first services is reference material services. Number two, the second service is being offered by the librarian is statistics. Statistics, yes. For the librarian need to take all record. Yes, librarian need to take record of all the materials in that library. They need to take record of all the materials in that library. So they need statistics on the record of all materials in that particular library. And sometimes also, they also need record in terms of the queries being given to them by the users. Like I said, the user also query the librarian. For example, if the librarian cannot be able to find materials they needed for a particular questions that they have in mind, so sometimes they query the librarian on that aspect, and as such, the librarian may not be, if not be able to find solution to that particular question, then they will have to go to other library to find solution to that particular question. So statistics is another important aspect when it comes to services being offered by the librarian or by the library services. So statistics is another key aspect in it. The next one is lending services. Lending services. We'll talk about lending services. We'll talk about the fact that users sometimes may come to the library and they might not want to sit down to read. All they want to do is to borrow books. So they offer lending services. And how do they do this? The users have to fill a borrower's form. A borrower's form will be filled by the users. And when that user fills that borrower form, a particular amount will be charged. Let's say 100 naira might be charged for that particular books. And when that money is being charged, they are expected to return the book as at when due. For example, if the librarian says return this book in 3 days' time, the users need to return the book in 3 days' time. If the readers refuse to return the book in 3 days' time, what will happen is that extra charges will be given. If the users refuse to return the book in 3 days' time, extra charges will be given to the users. For example, you might say, okay, you're going to pay 100 naira for each day that the book stays with you. Maybe, for example, after the 3rd day, if you refuse to return the book, then the 4th day becomes 200 naira, 300 naira, until the day that book is being returned. And remember also, in filling that form, every details will be taken about that particular user. The name, the address, the phone number, the email address, so that at the end of it all, the users might think that he might want to escape with that book. No, they can be able to trace the users to the particular information being given, and as such, if being caught, it will be made to pay for that particular book. So lending service is another service being offered by the library service or the librarian itself. Now, another service being offered by them is reservation service. The next one is reservation service. Yes, reservation service has to do with there are some materials that are kept which are not given to anybody within that library. They are kept for being stolen and cannot be lent to anyone. They call the reservation service. Now, there are some books in the library that are kept there just as an archive. It is not to be lent to anybody. So, by doing that, the librarian will say, okay, you're not giving out this book. You can only read this book there and go. You cannot take it out of the library. That is what they call reservation service. And most times, these books are books written by great men and women that cannot be lent out because of the what? The high cost of that book and because of the importance of that book. Maybe that book does not have other duplicates, and as such, the library attendants or the librarian might not want to give out that book. So it is called reservation service. So there's some books that are kept in that particular library, not lent out to anyone, and the reason is because the book is important and the book is necessary for that for reservation. Now, the next services that the library services offer is users education. Users education. Sometimes students coming to the library might be educated by the librarian and be given some education on how to use the library. Yes, users education. Maybe they are coming for the first time. Say, okay, now that you are coming for the first time, this is our law here. How to use the library is this. Make sure you always maintain silence. Make sure you always ensure that you don't litter the surrounding. Make sure that you ensure that each time you are leaving, you leave quietly. All these are called users education. And sometimes they might be giving instruction also, which they need to follow. This is our instruction here, and you must follow the instructions strictly if you want to make use of this library. If you cannot abide by it, then you cannot use this library. One time I say, okay, put your phone on silence. If I've gone to various libraries, say put your phone on silent, and the reason is because you don't distract other people that are reading. So this users education is very key. It's very key to library service. So they give you, they educate students on how to make use of the library. They give them instruction on what to do and what not to do, so that at the end of it all, they can be able to use the library well, and other users of the library can also benefit from the library services. That is what they call users education. That's what they call users education. Now, apart from that, they also offer other services they call specialized library services. Specialized library services. Now, there's some special information. There's some information that you can't just get anywhere except you come to the library. And they offer this information on a special basis. Maybe there's some information that you need, and it may be based on current awareness that you may have gone to several libraries and may not have that information. They might say, okay, we are giving you a specialized library services, and this and they may charge you higher than what you expected because it's a specialized library service. They might say, okay, this information is not information that is not known to various libraries, and because you have come to our own library, we can be able to offer you this information on demand, on a particular demand and on a particular cost. So it's called specialized library services. So it provides users with personalized services or information. Personalized services or information on current awareness or current issues. So if you want to get such information, the library attendants or the librarian can give specialized library services based on demand, and as such, you can be able to get access to information that no one else have gotten access to at that particular point in time. Another services being offered by the librarian is referral services. Referral services. When we talk about referral services, sometimes, like I said, earlier on, I said, so there's some information you cannot be able to get in some library. So rather than asking you to go, they might refer you to another library that is more standardized than their own library, where you can get that particular books or material. For example, all libraries are not equipped the same way. There are some library that you cannot get some books, and there's one library you can get some books. Some library that you can get you can get some books in public library. I might not really get it in a school library. While you can get some book in national library, I might not get it in public library. So, as the names implies, various type of library, there are various books being kept there. So, in some library, you might get to a particular library, I may not have access to a particular book. They can say, okay, they offer referral services. They might charge you based on that this is the cost that will take us to get that information or that service, or that particular information. Give us a particular amount of money, will get you this information from another library. To get, and as such, you'll be able to benefit based on that particular library, based on that services being given. So they call that referral services. Referral services. Now, another services being offered by the library is translation service. Translation service. Now, what talk about translation service is very, as the name implied, translation. Translating from one language to another language. Sometimes an individual can come to a particular library and say, okay, I've seen the book I wanted. Maybe he needed a book or maybe on journalism. But because of the fact that he does not understand English language, or he wants to pass the information to other people in other language, other local language, he might ask the library attendant and say, look, do you have this book being how can this book be translated from English to Yoruba language? Or do you have a translation of this book from English to Yoruba language or Igbo language or Hausa language? Remember that information also is being given in various languages in Nigeria. Like we have the Yoruba news, we have the Hausa news, we have the Igbo news. Now, sometimes information also can be translated from one language to another. So the library also offers these translation services. They can help in translating that particular book from English to other local language, and sometimes even foreign language. So it can be local language or indigenous language. So they offer translation services in the library. So you can translate book from English to other language. And that is why everybody have access to library. So you cannot say because you don't know how to speak English or you don't understand English language, you will not go to the library. No. You can go to the library if you don't understand English language. You can have indigenous books there which you can read also and benefit from it. And lastly, another service is being offered by the library is known as literature search services. Literature search services. Now, when we talk about literature search services, we're talking about easy search to literary books. Easy search to literary books. And like I said, one of the kind of books that you can find in the library is literary books, being written by poets or being written by literary scholars there. For example, you can find a book written by Wole Soyinka in the library. Yes, like The Gods Are Not to Be Blamed. You can find it there. You can find a book written by Olarotimi. You can also find a book written by foreign authors like William Shakespeare. All these are literary gurus. They are literary, poets. They are literary scholars that write books on literary works. And one thing about literary books is that it also educates the way the other books also educate. It gives you opportunity to understand various literary devices like prose, like poetry, even like drama. Books on prose, on poetry, and dramas. You can find them also in the library. Now, having understood this, you will discover that the library offers services which are very important to the development of a particular individual and development of that community. So far so good, we have seen several services being offered by the librarian, like it says, or the personal resource officer, talking about the librarian in the library. So we have seen various services ranging from translation services to reservation services to all forms of services, talking about the lending services, statistics services. We also look at the reference materials services. So all these are the services being given by the librarian. So with this, We have come to the end of Unit 2, Module 1 of this course. So we have come to the end of the Module 1. So we'll be moving towards Module 2 in our next class. And like I said, if you have any question, you can just drop your question in our inbox, and we'll be able to find solution to that particular question. So as we look forward to Module 2 of this course, GST 104, Use of Library. Thank you. Module 2.
Module 2, Unit 2.
No, we are going to Module 2 now. I'm through with Unit 2, Module 1.
How many units is it?
Just 2 units in Module 1.
No, how many modules in everything?
We have 6 modules.
Is it 2 units?
Some are 2, some are 3, some are 4.